So what hosting infrastructure options are available to game studios?
Of course, to start with, you got bare metal. You can simply get a bare metal provider.
Mm-hmm.
Well, IGD is one of them, and host your game there. Then you have like Google Cloud, AWS, so the cloud providers. It's also a very popular choice. I think those are the two main hosting facilities you have, and then you could also go for something like there are various actor models that you can get in a hosted variant. I know Azure has Fabric, I believe it's called, and there are some others, I think. Yeah, so I think those are the three main. So either you have like a cloud solution that can scale. That's the good news about it. Bare metal is usually a little bit faster, or a lot faster, but it doesn't really scale. Not in the way that the cloud providers scale. And then there's more the software solution, which basically digs into your architecture. You have to build your game according to the framework you will be using, and the framework will scale it for you.
Exactly. So
it's very invasive.
So yeah, there's the bare metals, there's the hyperscalers, and there's the platforms, which would take care of your scaling and all the magic behind it. So they take away a lot of worries.
Yeah.
The greatest marketing trick of this century is the large cloud providers telling everyone that you can scale indefinitely, infinitely at the hyperscalers. When talking about the benefits and the negatives, if your game is large enough, or if you're as a platform service, if you're providing service to multiple games, you will always run into the problem that even with the cloud providers, you suddenly start playing the capacity management game, quota games, negotiation commitments, negotiating how much you're going to spend with them for the next 5 years.
Yes.
Just like you were previously when you were dealing with data centers. But that's not something they tell you in the marketing.
No.
And that's why I think that's the strength of platforms such as yours and ours, which take away those worries for the game studios and the game developers.
Well, virtually infinitely.
It depends on the solution. Yeah. I think the cloud providers we mentioned, they generally also have their own solution tailored for game, but then you're stuck with that single provider, and if that provider is sold out or has other problems, then you're stuck.
Yeah.
So the main point is that you need to find and use a platform which makes use of multiple providers in the backend.
Yes, exactly.
So your game can always scale and always grow independently. So you're not reliant on a single provider somewhere in the backend causing you problems.
Yeah.
And that's the world we're in now.
At some point, it's going to be like things are going to have their own economy. It's going to be more like a Second Life, only without the sex. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. It's like what they call
Dead or Dumb
nowadays.
They call it
live games or games as a service, where
or metaverse, or there are a couple of very trendy hip buzzwords for them.
Basically, their expectation is when they develop and push out a new game that they can keep making money of it for many years after it's released by microtransactions, loot boxes, to name like a controversial topic. But to be successful there, your game needs to be up, your game needs to be available, your game needs to always support the player, so the player doesn't get frustrated and goes to play another game and spend his money on that other game instead of you. Yeah. I think at your side as well, you make it as easy as possible for the clients to use you.
There was one interesting angle for looking was that I think if you have something like Azure Service Fabric, you can build a game with that infinitely scales.
Yeah.
And it's great, right? And you can even deploy to production and it will automatically roll back. That's why I saw a really impressive presentation about that. But if you do that, you have to, your entire game is being vendor locked in, not only the hosting.
It's 100% Azure, and you're right, also with like not just the server side, you will need to make many modifications in your game.
Yes.
Which also talk to those Azure services to make it work.
And there you also have to use a .NET framework.
Yeah.
And it doesn't. A lot of people do that, but if you want to use something else, you simply can't do that. And with that comes all the tooling that you also need. That comes with the language in this case. Yeah. Like if you would do C#, you need to have Visual Studio. You need to have a subscription for all your employees. You need to have the course and everything. So it's a little beyond vendor locking your hosting. But hosting vendor lock-in is it's a little easier to fix, because hosting is basically start a server, stop a server.
Yeah.
And I'm simplifying it incredibly now, but that's what it comes down to. But that is something you can solve. But as soon as you're having vendor lock-in in the platform, then you're basically you cannot in a realistic way get over that, I think.
Yeah, I totally agree, especially when your game is out in production. You've scaled down your teams, and if you then have to make a whole change when you're completely locked into one of the hyperscalers environments, including with your deployment pipelines, with your game servers, but also your game clients.
Yes.
It's such a nightmare that it's in practice generally not possible unless it comes down from the top and they say, okay, here are the resources again, make the change.
Yeah, but you literally have to rewrite
the whole part of your stack.
And then now we were talking about Azure Service Fabric, which is a great technology, but it has a lot of lock-in. But the same thing could be said for AWS.
Yeah, with GameLift or with the Google Cloud.
I know that Google Cloud has a really great dashboard thing. It's great, but you need to be on Google Cloud in order to use it in a sensible way. So it's very easy to get locked into one vendor, because if you are developing a game, it's a lot of work.
Yeah.
You tend to go for the fastest solution, and that is very often one that the vendor provides. And on top of that comes a lot of other stuff from the same vendor.
Exactly, it's in their interest to provide as much locking as possible, and make it as much difficult as possible for you to change.
Yeah.
And that's also the main difference with our platforms, where it's very easy to start for a game studio, but if they wish to make a change later, it's not so difficult. I mean, yes, they might have to change some things regarding how they deploy their resources for servers, and maybe some integrations with how they deploy their pipeline, but they're free to pick and integrate another platform.
Yeah.
But there's little reason for them to do so, because you provide scaling with multiple providers at the back end. You take care of all the worries.
Yeah.
So there's little reason to, unless your platform is completely down, not performing. Whereas with with a game client, you're never going to have a discussion saying with them, okay, you're using our platform. Yeah, now I want you to commit for 5 years and spend literally this amount of money with us, or we're not going to let you use our platform anymore. Whereas with a cloud provider, if you're locked in completely all the way, you give away the key for your decision.
Yeah,
you cannot change anymore.
Yeah.
And then, even though you're spending maybe, let's say, 50 million for a game per year, but they know you cannot change, so you're not going to get the discount.
Also, you have less flexibility.
Yes,
and that's the thing you need in order to do at least a successful launch, but also to respond to an ever-changing market.
Yeah,
and especially now the world is completely changing, so you want that flexibility.